that you will entertain right now. Let me introduce the key character who will be present in this important program. Actually, no introduction is needed about him, who is going to take this program over the Zoom platform. He is well known among our members and especially in the media, in the public, and he is from very simple man to any hierarchy, and he is Dr. Sri Pradeep. If I simply mention about his academic career, he is a product from the University of Ruhuna, and he has excelled his higher educations in University of Peradeniya and Basilica, and now he has achieved this, excelling his high educations as well. This eminent personality at the University of Sri Lanka. He is an academic, an entrepreneur, and a role model to young engineers, sound advisor to any category, and no age limit. So, and his good advice in the society with technical matters and any relevant advices whom seeking from him. With this remark and without further ado, I invite Engineer Dr. Sri Pradeep to take over this. And actually, I would like to explain from what it has come from his own words about today's program. නිවසක් තැනීම ජීවිතේ වඩාත්ම මිලාදික ක්‍රියාකාරමක් වන අතර ඒ බොහෝ විට යමෙකුගේ විශාලතම ආයෝජනද වේ. ගෘහ නිර්මාණ ශිල්පියා, ඉංජිනේරුවරයා සහ පිරිවැය පාලකයන් විසින් නියමිත කාල සීමාවක් තුළ ඔබ අපේක්ෂා කළ දේ ඔබට ලබා දීම වෙනුවෙන් විශාල ඉල්ලුමක් පවතී. කෙසේ වෙතත් ද්‍රව්‍යමය මිල ඉහළ යාමත්, ඉදිකිරීම සඳහා ගත වන කාලය අනපේක්ෂිත ලෙස ඉහළ යාමත් නිසා සරල අඩු පිරිවැය නමුත් ඵලදායී ඉදිකිරීම සඳහා වන සැලසුම් සහ ප්‍රොවිෂන් තිබීම වඩාත් වැදගත් වේ. Actually, today Acharya Engineer Pradeep අද ඔබ වෙත මේ පිළිබඳ ඉතාමත්ම දක්ෂ කටකත්වයක් තිබෙන ඉංජිනේරු ප්‍රදීප් ඔබට ඒ නිවසක් ඒ ආකාරයෙන් සකසා ගැනීම සඳහා අවශ්‍ය සියලුම උපදෙස් ක්‍රමවේදයන් මේ මොහොතේ සිට ඔබට ලබා දෙනු ඇති. Yeah. So everyone, please enjoy this evening. Have a good evening. Thank you. Over to you. Bandhuka, you can start the session. Thank you.
Thank you, madam, for the introduction.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, then thank you very much. I hope everyone can hear me very well. So today actually the session is to talk about the cost-effective house construction in Sri Lanka. Particularly in Sri Lanka, actually, as Mrs. Kamala said, so over the last 2 years, probably the construction cost might be gone up by 50%. Even some of the items might be even more than 100%. So this is really challenging for a country like us because our salaries, our income, or other way of getting the earnings are not parallel increase. So at the time, so the house is one of the basic need of the human. Actually, in the first, I just wanted to tell you, this is not something I'm going to talk about, something artificial. Even though if you see these, the photos in the first slide, so this is a house, I simply say, without the column, without the footing. So then you might ask how you do it, how I did it, and also you might ask how you justified the structural things. Especially I know today, mostly engineers, technical people, and also the society, the normal citizens also participate in this debate. So I would like to sometimes talk a little bit of little bit on the fundamentals, so then they can at least work out when they started doing the construction towards to the economical solution. So this is, as I said to you, some of the projects I done in Sri Lanka. So with the, you can see these are the super luxury houses. You can see these are not the 3D images or else the artificial image. This is the actual image. You can see at the site at any times on request what we have done for the society. So when you talk about the house, number one, either it's low cost or whatever the cost, there are three components coming. One is a land. You need to have a land. The second one, the third one is the operation cost. So these land and construction cost, we call it a direct cost. The reason is why when you start doing the construction, when you're having your own dream, so you should have this money in hand. But mostly Sri Lanka, I think in the society, something really not looking for, which is highly important. One thing is operation cost. So if you see the house, these all three categories comes: land, construction cost, and the operation cost also. That people usually forget. The third one is operation cost. What do you mean by the operation cost? Operation cost is when you done the house, when you completed your house. So it has to be an economical way to move forward. For example, lighting, ventilations, and day-to-day activities, and also sometimes the furnitures. You can name anything that has to be minimized for the operation cost. Basically, when I am getting the client or when the client is requesting for something, so I was just asking, even what is your plan for this house? The need is different and the operation is different. So this direct cost, people used to have this direct cost in account, but rather this indirect cost might be even more than that. That is the one of the critical issue in Sri Lanka, what I am seeing, because people are putting up their houses. Sometimes they are putting their bedrooms in the wrong location. For example, why we need to think about this operation cost. If you put up the bedroom on the directions of the sunrise and the fall, so then you every times when you go there, you will feel a war. So then probably over the night, you always need to have a high capacity, high tonnage of the air conditions, or else probably you need to have a different kind of artificial ventilation, which will be costed through the electrical bill. So then, first thing is a planning. So let's go what you mean by the main features that you need to consider for the direct cost. One thing is, especially when you select in the land. So here mostly people go there and select the land based on the budget and based on probably the area they would prefer to construct the house. But the things happen is probably initially when you plan it out the house, you bring down the land, and when you start doing the construction or the planning, let's say the planning stage, you will find probably so many difficulties. I would say one, probably your groundwater level is much higher. Then when you start thinking about the foundation, so unexpected foundation cost, good cost for the house. අර විශේෂයෙන්ම නිවසක් දැන් අපි ඉඩමක් තෝරා ගැනීමේදී අපිට තියෙන ප්‍රධානම අවශ්‍යතාවය තමයි ඒ ප්‍රදේශයෙන් අපි දවන නාගරික ප්‍රදේශයක් කියලා අපි කැමති ප්‍රදේශයෙන් තෝරා ගැනීම. නමුත් එහි තියෙන අවාසිදායක කොටස තමයි ඔබ හරියට මේ සඳහා සුදුසු අධ්‍යයනයක් කරේ නැත්නම් වැඩක් නැති විදිහට. එහෙම නැත්නම් ඉතා ඉහළ පියවරක් සමහරවල් පාදම අපි කියන ෆවුන්ඩේෂන් එකට දරන්න පුළුවන්. එහෙම නැත්නම් අපි දන්නවා සමහර වෙලාවට දැන් ඔබ නිවසක් තෝරා ගැනීමේදී මේ වගේ හිල් ඒරියා එකක වගේ සමහරලාට සිලෙක්ට් කරන්න පුළුවන්. එහිදී වෙන්න පුළුවන් එක තමයි දැන් සමහරලාට ඔබට මේ නිවස හැදීමට අවශ්‍ය වෙලාවේදී මේ වගේ සොයිල් ටයක් අයින් කරලා තමයි මෙතන හදන්නේ. එතකොට අපිට හිතන්න නැති විදියට මේ වගේ රිටේනින් වෝල් ස්ට්‍රක්චර් මේ වගේ රිටේනින් වෝල්ස් කරන්න වෙනවා. ඊළඟට අපිට මේ ඒරියා එකේ සොයිල් ස්ටැබිලයිස් කරන්න ඕනේ. ඒ කියන්නේ අපිට සොයිල් එකේ ස්ථායීතාවය රැක ගන්න වෙනවා. එතකොට සමහර වෙලාවට මේ ලෑන්ඩ් එකේ අපි හිතමු මුදල අඩු වුණාට x කියලා අපි හිතමු 5 million කියලා purchase 10ක් ගන්නවා නම් ඊට පස්සේ මේ කියන structural soil stability එකට මේ කියන soil work එකට සමහරලාට 10 million යන්න පුළුවන්. එතකොට 15 million ඔබ වැය කරලා තියෙනවා මේ ඉඩම සමහර වෙලාවට නිවසක් සාදා ගැනීමට සාදා ගැනීම සඳහා ගෙනෙන අවස්ථාව සඳහා. So what I am saying is, so probably when you selecting the land, the issue is comes basically you don't do the feasibility study. So when you have that, what I am saying is to the inclinations probably. So you need to stabilize the soil. So the stabilize the soil, you need probably the retaining wall, and also you need sometimes here the stabilizations of the soil. So that costs probably more than the land. So if you consult a right person, so he might say this value that is hidden in your budget. So what happened to the people? They just focus on the land, then they just estimate the value for the house. So 5 million for the land, so 20 million for the house. But ultimately what will happen to stabilize the soil because of this wrong decision to select the land, so you might have a hidden 10 million in your budget. So this out of this 20 million, so 10 million has to be passed here, and the 10 million is balanced for your house. What will happen is people plan for the initially two-story building, right? So in their life, they have to start from the first floor, and so the slab is getting wetted and everything. So you have to wait for that. So this is we call the unplanned thing. So always, I think selecting the land and larger lands or whatever. So better consult the person, especially whether it is suitable for the good foundation, whether it's suitable for the stormwater out, and also the drainage. What are the issues on this area? Probably not only this, sometimes probably if your land is close by the solid waste dump, so the always you have to experience the smell. Probably then in addition to if you are very close by the factory, so the noise is coming. There are so many factors that you need to think about when you select in the land. So the today topic is to construction the low cost house, but I would say you have to give the much more attention just before selecting the land, because you are going to stay in your throughout the life where you should enjoy your life. You have to be hassle free. So that's why I thought to share this one. Right? The second, if you have any questions, I think you are mostly welcome to put into the chat. So if I'm able to incorporate during the session, I do. Or else I will give a chance to ask you questions at the end. The second one is soil condition. The soil condition is some things depend on the foundations, we call the bearing capacity. Especially sometimes what we happen is we used to have in a good soil, probably. So if the bearing capacity, let's say, I don't want to refer the number, but let's say 150 to 250 or something bearing capacity, right? So then if you are planning for the 3-story house, you may able to end up with isolated footing, right? So if the bearing capacity is low, how it could happen? There are so many things, there are so many reasons to be happening. One thing is, I would say, if the land is filled, because in mostly Colombo area, now we know that the traditional land for the house construction has gone now already built. So now we have to find out the new lands where there might be a issue on the water, floodings, etc. So at that times, what these developers do it, this is you have to be very careful. So this is existing probably the mud land. So top of that, they put the good soil, right? So when you go and see the land, so you see this top part with probably the few vegetation. This is, I met so many clients like this. Then you decided to buy the land without doing any test or any predeterminations. Then once you've done it, then you go for the structural engineer or the architect to build up your land. Then the architectural drawing is done, you come for the structural. Then they were asking to do the soil test. Then only you can find it out whether land is fill or the natural land. This is one of the critical issue in the Colombo. Probably we now, when we are doing the structural designs, we are come up with sometimes our recommendation 2-story buildings with the pile foundation. You know the cost for the pile foundation, it is more than 2-3 times sometimes the amount of money you plan to construct the house. What I am suggesting you, if you have not started the construction, so please do consult the structural engineer or the soil investigator just before buy the land. Then you will get the idea about what is the foundation cost and then what type of foundation that you are going to have in your place, right? So the budget, because we know that whatever the construction we are going to, we have a limited budget X. Now today our topic is to little bit think about the low cost house. So then it has to be calmed down. Anyway, in this budget, if you are not analyzed this way, if you are not taking the right decisions on the land, especially what I would say, we call a substructure below the ground. No one can see on their eyes, physically, no one can see. So in that case, you should consult the right person to get the view on that. About the structure, superstructure mostly not depend on the land, not depend on the area. Sometimes if it is a, the hill area might be different, but mostly it won't be going for much variation in terms of the cost, right? So this is still we are talking about the direct cost. Let's go. So then when you need to have a house, you properly need to understand what is your genuine requirement, not the neighbor house, what they did, not someone's did. So because my lifestyle is completely different than yours. Don't forget that. If you are working, right, so you will start in a house actively more or less than 5 hours per day. How it comes? Because just assume that you get up in the morning, probably 5 o'clock, whatever. So then 5 o'clock, so you leave 7 o'clock. So then 2 hours in the morning. So then again back probably 6:30, and you will be 6 to 9, probably another 3-4 hours you spend at the home. What I'm saying is actively, not in the sleeping time. So these 6 hours you are at home. Beyond that, you only need to have the sleeping time. You only need to have a comfortable bedroom and the bed. So beyond that, you don't know after going to the sleep. Then what the people suffer today is, what I'm feeling is, so they have a biggest house. They have everything here, even the swimming pool, every luxury. Don't enjoy it at all because they don't have a time for that. But the problem is they don't give a necessary priority for the bedroom. The bedroom is one of the key area in the house that you are going to spend approximately 1/3 of the day. So you will be there 8 hours. So how the attention you should give for the bedroom, especially in terms of the ventilation, in terms of the lighting, in terms of the drainage, everything is much higher. So the living area, all others, it's good, fine, it's better that you work for that and you get to understand what's your requirement. What I'm saying is, looking at someone's lifestyle, looking at someone's house, you shouldn't take any decisions for your requirement. The mostly people come to us for the designing stages, so they might come up with someone's dream. So then we as engineers, architects, so we should be able to convince them and they are the different houses, different type of houses that I able to, as architect, as an engineer, to get their needs. So probably people come and ask, okay, I need the bedroom by 10 by 10. But they don't have any idea about what is the 10 by 10 bedrooms physically. So what I am asking basically, do you have any idea about what is the size of 10 by 10? So then what I usually do is, okay, we'll go for the another site right now happening and almost at the edge. So I will show him, okay, look at this is 10 by 12 room. This is 18 by 20 room. So which one you need? Then only they selected, oh, I thought this is 10 by 10 is a much bigger. So then basically they gave up 10 by 12, OS 18 by 12. Remember that house is a one thing that you put up one times in your life. You don't have a chance to rectify it. Once you do the construction, you spend enough time for a planning. You go and see whatever the house has already done. See what is the living spaces you need. So if it is a 20 by 40, you go and see at least one house where the 20 by 40, 20 by 30 is there. Then you know what are the exact dimensions you need to have in your home. The third one is project, right? Here, I just forget to tell one thing. Because we know that one thing is the low house is a different concept, and beyond the budget is a different. If you don't do right drawings and all, right? Bathrooms here, bedrooms here, etc. Okay. Once we start construction, you feel that, oh, okay, this is not good for here. This has to be changed somewhere. Okay. You start demolishing this wall. And you put in here. So the bathroom somewhere here, shift into here. Remember that construction is cheaper than a demolition and redoing it. Then my request is you spend enough time to see the model houses. You spend enough time to see the bedroom sizes. Experience the bedrooms in the newly construction house. That you can easily do because there are so many houses happening everywhere that you do and visit and you get the idea what you really require. So what is the kitchen you read? What are the sizes? Then only, because since this is your first experience. If it is a second experience, definitely you are going to do it better. Because mama godak kala අහන දෙයක් තමයි දෙවෙනි ගෙදර නම් හරියට හදනවා පළවෙනි ගෙදර හරියට හදන්න බැරි වෙනවා කියලා. දැන් ගයක් හදුවා. To avoid that, the better you visit at least few sites and get the real dimensions of the existing house. So here construction cost can be down if you really plan it out without any demolition or any changes. So the fourth one is a project planning. Project planning is something that you have to work with the parallel activities. We call, as engineers, there are so many softwares and there are so many activities. We know that what back-to-back activities that can be happen. So then back-to-back activities put into the path that we used to call in the critical path. Without disturbing this critical path, if you do the entire project, you may be able to do even the project before the deadline. If you are not concerned about this critical path, or else the parallel activity and back-to-back activity, then you are going to lose so many things. One thing is a time. Remember that losing the time is one of the going to make it, because you know the price is going up day by day. If you take 2-3 years back, the quotations or whatever the material prices that you were given probably valid for the one, but today it only valid for 3 days or maximum only for the day. I do have agreed with me on in terms of cement and everything. So you can't find the material. Then it's the scarcity in the market that you are going to hit. So we don't know when it's going to be solved. But earliest earlier you purchase everything, earlier you finish, definitely going to be a biggest advantage for your profit and also the time. The construction management. This is a different from the planning. What do you mean by the construction management? The construction management is something what you do at the site. There can be a direct laborers at the site. There can be a subcontractor at the site. There may be a contract type is measure and pay, lump sum, probably labor only, the material without material. You know, you name whatever it is, that is going to be the one way of doing the construction. How do you manage this? What I feel is today mostly the client think that they can easily manage the contractors, that they wouldn't pay, they won't pay for the consultants or the engineer for their project. My experience, mostly the person who start doing this one will be ended up with probably more than 10% or 20% than the what engineers is supervising project. I will tell you the reasons why. The reason is, this is some of the my thumb rule, but it can be changed. You start doing the house. Then what will happen is, in the housing industry, it might mostly go with these, if it is not an engineered solution, with the stage, we call the milestone. So you take for the foundation, let's say 20%. So the first floor slab, another 30%. So the final slab, another almost 30%. So out of this is how mostly the contract, if it is not a measure and pay, right? So then 30, 20, that is going to be 80%. So the balance is remaining for the, balance 20 is remaining for the what? The finishing work. But remember that this, when you deal with the basunah or the normal persons, without cross-checking your bills and everything, so finally you ended up with somewhere the 80% already money is given to the contractor or someone. Then what will happen is, this 25%, of course, not enough for the finishing work. Then there will be a lot of arguments, lot of disputes and etc. I would say in Sri Lankan construction industry, at least 95% is the person who started the contract will be, I'm talking about the house, not the official contract or the project, will leave at the end. So I hope if you have done your home experience, that is going to be the similar. Even mostly some of the engineers also not be able to tackle this issue. The person who started will leave most probably just before the finishing stage, because the money has been taken into his line. And when you are asking to complete the plastering, tiling, the washrooms, then the painting, roofing, waterproofing, the door and windows, the timber, polishing, everything's come. So he may not be able to do within the 20%. But unfortunately, the clients, basically, they don't want to pay for the consultants or anyone else. Then they are finally ended up with a huge loss. Sometimes I have seen some of the contractors has been taken the payments, the physical progress, physical progress in the actual site progress, it's while 50%, this is physical progress at the site, right? But the payment, they have gone for the 80%. But if you do properly, even though project might be the 10 million, 20 million, right? Either 30 million if house construction, with exactly measure and pay, or else labor only, or else turnkey, doesn't matter. But these all has to be verified by the either quantity survey or engineer who is capable of doing these work. So the today issue is the client doesn't want to have this part, this payment, right? this payment usually, that might be even less than 1%, probably 2% of the entire project, which the client will going to lose at the end, probably 20 to 30%. When the client comes to us, all the things go. So we may probably not be able to rectify the thing. What I'm saying is they do lot of structural defect, wrong procedures, and everything they have done. So when the client comes to us, they have gone. So when we were looking to rectify it, it's a sometimes it's doing a new house is better. So many cracks, everything. So I don't want to spend much time on this, right? But this is some things you need to do. This is the fifth one, right? I think mostly people are not concentrate on this kind of thing. So the last one is 6 is a minimizations of the waste. I mean, in terms of the material and also the workmanship. So what do you mean by the workmanship? So I would say, so our now today topic is to reduce the cost of the construction. We do have few ways to do it. One thing is a material cost reduction. The second one is a labor cost reduction. And also the structurally we can do the optimized design. And the final one is the waste status. So I would say in Sri Lankan project, at least the material, this is my understanding, 15 to 20% materials are go as a waste in building. Either you are starting the well. Let's say this is normal cube. We have a truck of 1 cube, 3.5 cubes, and hardly we have a 2 cube. So client think that okay, now I need 4.5. 1 cube lorry is available. I'm just taking the example, and other lorry is available 3.5. So either he has to use this 1 cube lorry for 5 times, or else he has to go for the 3.51 and 1 cube. What will happen is that combinations the client doesn't prefer. Usually they don't want to go for the different suppliers. The one who has the 1 cube, he goes with the 1 cube. Once who have the 3.5 cubes, he goes with the 3 point. So what will I will go for the 3.5 cube, and I will 7 cube that he think that he can use at the later stage. So once the foundation is done, the material at somewhere side there, then you have to go for the backfilling of the soil and the plinth beam. That rubble is not needed anymore. So then it might go probably as a refill sometimes, because taking off these rubble is not an easy thing. Remember that the construction material, once you get into the site, you will never return once you finish it. Probably the tiling, those things, yes, but no one is taking sand back from your house. You have no option, because you can't ask, okay, hardware guy, come and take the balance of this half cube. I have additional half cube of the sand. Can you take it back and give us the money? There is no way to do that, because all these transports are highly linked with the workmanship, which will be, unbearable. So in that case, the 4.4 cubes you needed, you got 7 cubes. So 2.5 cubes, what will happen? So it goes as a waste. So no put it. Then the vehicles go stop off that. Then after that you put the probably the formwork, etc. So then done it. So this is one example that I would say my experience, what I'm saying. I have done a lot of analysis also on this. So in Sri Lankan, construction the house, 20% of the material can be managed at least. So if it is a 15% to 20% of material managed in the right way within the project, so overall cost of the project usually comes 60 to 70. Overall project is a material. if it is 20, right? If it is 20%, you will be get probably additional 10 to 50, at least 10% of overall project cost, or let's say 7.5% of overall project cost. So the overall project is about the 7.5% is, please pay your consultant 2.5 or 3, that he will save this 7.5, that people will not see on their calculation. It's not black and white. So if there is a quantity survey, he can calculate what is the exact rubble work requirement, what is the exact reinforcement requirement, what is the number of the cement bag requirement, what is the number of the metal requirements for the concrete. Then he or she knows exactly calculated. Adding 5% is a fine. But you bring down mostly the slab you need, for example, 9 cube of meter sand or the metal. Instead of you, for the safe margin, you bring 12. Then look at you nine, you put 12. You bring
Not clear.
more, because you need ready mix ordering. We usually play with the hello.
It was not clear for a
Can you
while.
hear me?
So can you please repeat?
All right. No, the issue is that the power has gone. I am using my iPad. Probably it is a 4G connection. No? It may sometimes get struck. Now I think you can hear me, right?
Yeah, now it is clear.
Okay, so please accept my apologies because the power has gone. I'm using the iPad. So it's connected to this mobile network. No, it might time to time. So this is what I'm telling. So if you are not built the house, or if you are at the earlier stage of your house, one thing is please manage the material. Because not only you are going to lose the material, you know, we are out of the material now. Availability of the material also the questionable. So if you plan it and manage it is going to be the greatest support for this planet. So the every kilos of the cement, every kilos of the steel is a way of exposing the carbon dioxide to the environment. And it is a way of increasing the carbon footprint. Not only your house, it will be definitely help for our future generation and also the planet. It's going to be a huge thing. I think if you manage the material with the right quantity.
Voice is not clear. Hujan nih Pak. Escúchame, Costín. Eti.
We can't hear, sir.
Hi, doctor. We can't hear you.
I think there are some technical issue. Wait for a moment.
Dr. Lux is disconnected, or I think it's not there.
Seems like disconnected. I will try to contact.
Now can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, can hear you.
Sorry, I think the power thing has gone in the router also. So let me quickly share the screen. Can you see the screen?
Yes, we can see.
Okay. So the second one is I'm talking about the indirect cost. That is the operation cost that has to be also considered. This is actually one of the projects, right, that we considered for the operation cost. You can see in the daytimes it is completely so having the cross ventilation that you don't need to have a ACs or else the fans or etc. Then you might ask, so there might be issue on the insects and everything. That's fine. That for that during the daytime you can have a different kind of arrangement. So the reducing the air conditions cost. This is nowadays considered as one of the key element when you design the MEP, mechanical engineer. So the mechanical things. The reason is you have to select the right location for the bedrooms, especially when you at the house you are using nowadays in the Western province or wherever you go throughout the night. Then if you have the right place to select, so you can reduce the tonnage of these whatever the 12,000 or the 80,000 beauty 24,000 etc. And also these air condition, when you put on the right place, do not decide it yourself. So please take a technical support for that. So they will definitely give you a right location, right calculation to place your air conditions throughout the night to keep you comfortable. The final is the utensil. Even when you are thinking of building the house, so please go decided at the very big initial stage what kind of appliances you're going to have, so what kind of bathrooms sets you're going to use, then it will be incorporated to the your initial cost and also the plan. Then if you are not meeting your budget, there is a slight chance to get rid of these things. Probably you can have alternative methods to do, you can have a different ways to do it, the same concept, the same requirement, but there are so many alternatives to do that. For that you might need to have a different kind of thought for these planning also. Do not go for experience this, because this is the very first time you are going to have your house and that is going to be a last for your life. Then there is no time us to experiment the house, the way of doing it. So that's why you need expert opinion to do that. Right. So then finally, I will be coming to the one of the real case we have developed actually with the team of engineers. So this is, you can see, this is actual house in Nigambo. So I will give you a scope of work. We wanted to have a luxury house, but we wanted to reduce the cost much as possible. Then we have to show off that the structural integrity of the project is correct, right? I will show you one case study from the beginning. So this is the project right now. This is the building. So 100% done. To be completed few months back. This building doesn't have any foundation. What does, I mean the isolated foundation, pile, or else any type of foundation. So I will come to that point how we did it. This building doesn't have any columns. This is 100% masonry load-bearing wall building. It's a 3 stories building. Then there might be the question for the structural engineer: how would you justify your lateral loads? How do you control your crack width? So everything with us, if you wanted to further go. But today's session is basically on how you do it. Right? So then I will explain the steps of doing it. In this building, the car park is approximately 8 meter span, 8.5 meter span, almost 25 feet. So how we did, in that building, we incorporate the composite design as well. So not only the masonry, so it has a steel section as well, steel beam, etc. Where we need to have a higher span, we use that composite action with the decking. Right? In a single project, I'm not sure in Sri Lanka, this might be the, probably unit of few cases might be available. So the walls are masonry, foundation is a flat concrete layer. I will come to that point later, right? Then there is no single columns at all. So the slab, it has a reinforced slab area. It means a normal reinforcement, and also the composite area. So where we need to have a higher span, so we use this composite. So then the shorter span where I have wherever we need, we use the reinforced. So in Sri Lankan practice, we used to have either reinforced concrete or else the composite concrete. I don't think in a much project, I don't know. Personally, I don't know in a single project, we use a 2 type of application for the project. Then the questions might be, you ask, okay, when you play with these 2 type of application, how is the cost? But our priorities is we need to satisfy the requirement of, for example, why we use the composite. So we need to have approximately 25 meter. It means approximately 8 meter span beam, car park entrance. But we don't want to have a, high depth beam. So we wanted to manage the depth. As I remember, it is like we want to manage the 300 millimeter. But if you go for the mostly the concrete beam, I'm not saying, if you at least span over the depth you consider to 15, so at least you will be ended up with a 400 to 500 beam minimum. That might be even go for the 600. Our requirement is we wanted to have our clear height minimum the 300 millimeter beam. The single slab we managed to have, I think, how do you justify your lateral stability of the building? So the foundation is it's type of the raft, but raft used to have raft, when we design the raft, it should be under the ground. If it is a ground level, so raft we place somewhere below the ground, because we know that especially when we designs of the foundation, we have a sometimes the sliding, overturning, and the bearing, we look for that. So avoid to these overturning probably, or else sometimes to improve the bearing. So mostly the raft are placed in well below the ground level. But here we were just placing our foundation raft top of the ground. That we calculated all the direct shear, punch-in shear are satisfied with our foundation requirement. Then the lateral stability of the walls. It means if there is a wind, earthquake, so in Sri Lanka, it's a third category according to Eurocode 8. So it is a third category country. So Q factor, we can select the lower value. And also when you design the ductility, I'm just talking about the engineers, I think they might be wonder. So we are just playing somewhere in the 10 to 20, where probably, let's say the country like Italy, New Zealand, that they are playing with this 20 to 20. This is the ductility factor. So we are in the DCM, medium ductility. So they are in the DCH, the high ductility. So when you analyze with the DCM, it's more than enough to have these beds. Only thing what we did was, we have an issue of the strength of the block in Sri Lanka, the cement block. So we find a supplier, we went for the supplier and asking, for example, SL standard is playing somewhere 2 to 3 megapascal. We need to have probably 6 megapascal in according to our finite element. So the stress distribution, right? So the higher stresses, we are playing around 5 megapascal or somewhere there. Then we are trying to have the blocks somewhere beyond that. Finally, we done the mix design separately, right? So the separate mix design, right? So this, we done the mix design. So we wanted to have somewhere 6 to 8, but after the mix design, it came more than even though the test 10. So this is how it was happen. But you can see, for example, if I am, let me enlarge this, sorry. If you enlarge this, you can clearly see here, all these are brick. All these are brick. There is no column at all. But you can see in this line, how the beam network is going. Sorry. Like this, no? So this is a reinforced concrete beam, right? So this is a ball bearing. This all made out of the brick. Then if you want to have now the question comes with the lateral stability, every engineer's question. So we have done the finite element analysis instead of the structural analysis, because you can't do the structural analysis, because this is not something the plain frame analysis. This is we played with the solid brick bearing wall. Then we went for the finite element modeling. So this is not a unique project. This is a second project we did. One is in the Candy, right? I will show you if you need that image also. So this is the construction stages one, right? The building. So any engineers wanted to visit, so I am ready to take over there, and how any technical matters, any technical designs we did, all of you are welcome to contact us. So we will share it. There is no issue at all. So this project, it was initially with the reinforced foundation, everything. I'm just talking about, this was initiated, I remember 2019 end. So we finished almost 2020 end, right? Initially, the normal, traditional reinforced concrete, if you go for this one, so without the finishing, what I'm saying in the structure, just before the plastering, so we were costing like 4,000 somewhere, right? 3-story building, but we were able to done this before somewhere around 2,800 100. So exactly we save the structure material cost 30%, but not sacrificed at all. For example, span, I said to you, the span for the car entrance is 8 meter. That usually hard to get in a 3-story house or probably the 2-story house in a normal practice in Sri Lanka. That's why mostly I said the word called we do the engineering. Now the times to do the re-engineering. So engineering application always there with the traditional way, but when you do the engineering, when you do the engineering applications towards with the finite element or else the novel method, then you can find a different ways to get it done. Because today client have a limited budget, so the budget is fixed and the requirement is fixed. Every client is like that. So I have a 20 million, I need a 2-story house with a 3-bedroom. So how do you do that? But I think if we are not answerable to that question, what I feel is we are somewhere wrong. All the question I think should be answerable, but there are so many ways to do that. If you are a travel, if you are carrier, probably the engineers goes with the traditional way of doing it, probably you may not be able to do that, and also you will lose a lot of opportunity. Clients are looking for the innovative idea. Clients are looking for that, and also the application. Every pay for a value we are created through the project. So with this, I think this is the latest status of the building, right? There is no crack at all. So we have done. So this is the second project. Anytime you are welcome to visit, we will take you. So this project, I think we were supposed to complete almost 16 months. We were completed within 10 months exactly. Even the fast construction, you don't need to struggle with the thing. But anyway, we have taken few precautions if you want. For example, you know that, so our foundation is not embedded to the soil. Then you can see even these walls, the boundary walls, we well develop up to the certain level and we compacted soil here. Because we do not want to lose our soil stresses. The soil stress when the load is applying, so the stress is developing, right? So what we have done is, if the column is here, so our boundary walls, we will strengthen it, right? So then the stress development within the columns, within the area, we want to have a uniform. And the ground also, we develop very well. We use the compactions very good, right? So then another question is coming. So what will happen to the consolidation probably during the rainy period, etc. So for that, soakage, pit and all, we have separately identified and put into the different location, right? The clearly it was, for example, if the building is like this, if the retaining wall was like this, we always make the water lines out towards the building, avoid any issues for the building. Any issues for the buildings and all. So here you can see the pavings done very well. This is one of the projects recently we completed with the low cost, but absolutely with the super luxury. Simply, I would say we eliminate the foundation cost and the column cost, especially with the bearing. So someone asked, okay, you made a special brick. So that price, how much? If you wanted to calculate an ROI and the estimation, everything we can share with you. Remember that 1 kilogram of cement, nowadays I think the price has gone up. So the 50 bag is now 1 kilogram. If you get 1,500, 30. 1 kilograms of cement. So if you improve the strength of the cement, the brick, that won't be much cost, because remember that one bag, I think, I don't know how many of you know this one bag of cement, right, produce more than 100 blocks, cement blocks, normal cement block, right? 100. So then I told you, 1,500 divided by 100, it's like, almost you are playing with the 15 rupees cement per block. If you increase this one, even the cement contents by the 100%, so it won't go more than another 15 rupees. But remember, the steel and the concrete price is a different when you play with the. And other thing is a workmanship, because you can see, you no need any shuttering for this one. The column shuttering, etc. You only need to have a slab. So the foam work, you will reduce at least 50%. The wall bearing, because the columns are not there, and the plastering is easy, because inner side you don't need to have plaster. You can simply apply the whatever the finishes, even the potty oils are different kind of finishes, you simply applied it. You don't need to have a plaster, because plaster usually required when the columns and the wall is there, the column casted, so many concrete can be coming out, and there is no alignment. Sometimes the column is there, wall is there, then you have to match these plasters as well. But when you have a brick, so the element wise you go there, then mostly the finishes are very much smooth. So this is how we did the project recently with the low. I mean, we are not sacrificing the structural integrity, quality, and especially the client requirement. So these are the internal yards, and also the appearance, etc. You can see all of this. So nowhere any single columns are there. If you take this one also, if you take this is the masonry column in the sense that the wall, the load bearable wall. So everything is similar. There is no reinforcement. Simply, I would say there is no vertical reinforcement at all. So I will show you couple of the project photos, bathrooms, washrooms, everything, staircase. So these are the internal appearance. This is a rooftop, etc. So this is the rooftop, right? Rooftop also the concrete slab. There is no any columns up to there. So with these, I hope you understand exactly. There are certain ways to minimize the cost in the house construction. One is you have to reduce the direct cost, the material cost, the labor, unnecessary wastages, workmanships, the proper planning at the initially, the right land selections, the where you are going to put that, so etc. Then when it's come to the indirect costs, especially the operation costs, lighting, because try to use the daylighting as much as possible. Then the ventilations, and beyond that, so many things come. So, utensil selections, etc., furniture, all this you have to plan it out. And then finally, I told what we can do as structural engineers, especially, so with compliance with our requirement, with compliance with our structural integrity, this is what we can make. So this won't be applicable for any land. That is one thing, because here bearing capacity is much higher, the groundwater level is much lower. So even though there are so many ways to improve it. So I have seen a couple of questions quickly. I think a few questions. This is the one question: how does this kind of buildings behave if any earthquakes effects are there? So that's why we have done the finite element. So I don't have much time to explain. Not it's another day lecture if you want, right? So you have to model it. So we have apply here the earthquake DCM level, the moderate medium level, and we have seen. So we found some of the area, the stress distribution is quite higher. For example, here, because of course, in this finite element model, somewhere here, because it was not tied with anyone. So the walls are completely free-ended. That's why stresses are develop here. Finite element, I'm not going to talk much because here the team, these participants are also the different field. But we have, what I can say is, for his question, we have justified it. We have a report if you want to show. We are planning to have a couple of projects start to near future. So if you comes to us, we will explain you how do we do that. Then I don't know if the ICC beam slab, so it's I didn't analyze it, but the people are using it. So if we have already purchased the slope land, what would be the most cost-effective way to build the house, or else sell and buy another house is the best option. So this is, I think, you need to work with the numbers and you need to work with the way structure, and especially if it is a vulnerable area, please don't do that. Number one, you go with the NBRO and check whether your land is belong to which area. Then if it is on the vulnerable area, please avoid that. If it is not, and the water tables are well settled, and probably you are in the rock area, so still you may be able to do that, and you have to see this slope stability, etc. So those geotechnical things to be studied, and then only you can say whether it's sell or do it. So I think with all, let me thanks everyone invited me, and I'm really enjoy this session. And if you have any questions, I think physically also, I don't know, but sorry, if you wanted to on the mic and you can ask quickly.
Yes, if you have any questions, you can ask directly also.
So I think one question they asked the waterproofing. There are so many waterproofing. So the vitamin is waterproof. I don't want to name the product, but it's nothing to do with these costs. But anyway.
So may I ask a question?
In Sri Lanka waterproofing, the issue we need to use our. Please go ahead. You can ask the question.
There's a question.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Sir, I am from Kandy, and regarding the Kandy's high condition, I would like to get some ideas, because the columns, without columns and all, if you do the construction in Kandy, there is a next line, there may be a retaining wall. So some area there is no retaining wall. So if they do the construction for deep excavation without any column support structures, if I constructed next building, if they do any kind of deep excavation, it will not harmful to my structure if it's sustained without any column or something.
Well, that's what I exactly said to you. So this model will be not sustained for everywhere, right? If you see this building, right? I will show you from the top, right? So this is the road, right? So that is road is permanent. So this is the building, right? You can see all the way in this direction the rear spaces, and this direction the rear spaces. So even though they do the deep excavation somewhere here, so enough spaces just the both sides. So when we plan it out the house, initially we decided to go with this. Now, for example, someone can design this house with a blind wall on this side and like this to have a more garden. So it's a choice for you. I understand you can't have a blind wall and having other lands a deep excavation. That's quite challengeable. Even though if you do the reinforced concrete with the isolated footing, and even you do the, let's say, raft foundation without the pipe. So you have a isolated foundation. This is the next land. So it's going to be excavated somewhere here. Not only the masonry, you have a same issue of collapse because this area is going to be highly stressed. So the stress bulb is not sustainable, so then sustain, so it's going to be collapsed. Even if you have a, let's say the raft foundation, that is also similar case. Let's say the rigid foundation, that is also similar case. So you are not advisable any shallow foundation go to the boundary. If it is going to the boundary, you should definitely have a retaining support or whatever the structure if the next land is excavated. That's why you put lot of, in the apartment project, if the like basement come, this is the X16 level, they put the sheet piles first, driven sheet pile, and they do the excavation. After that, they comes to basement with the, sometimes, the piling arrangement or whatever, secant pile or whatever, right? So then completed it. Anyway, you are not allowed to move in your design, you are not allowed to move the soil. Not only for the masonry, any type of shallow foundation, far as we know. The pile is different. Any other question?
Sir, what is the cost saving by doing this kind of change for the structure?
That I was telling you, we were supposed to, at the initially, the client, the cost is 4,200 somewhere, so 4,200 per square feet approximately for structure only, right? So we were able to do by the 2,800. So almost more than 1/3 is saving for the structure. 30 to 35% structure can be, the structural cost can be saved. Others are, and remember that if you do the masonry structures properly, you don't need to have a plaster. Now you can directly apply any other material. So then the plaster also gone away, right? The issue comes with the electrical, plumbings and all. So in that case, you have to cut, no? So that is also, we did a different arrangement. We bring down the main line throughout the 3 floors and we distributed among. So actually, what I can simply say you for your question, the finishes, please keep it away. I don't know what are the tiling or those painting you're going to use. Structurally, I would say 20 to 25% to 30% can be easily saved. Any other question?
Excuse me, I'm an electrical engineer.
I think one good question asked. Can I answer this one? This 2-story or 3-story house need to be built in the marshy land or the water lock area. Then what is the suitable economical foundation system for this other than the deep foundation? This is really good question. I would say why. In Sri Lanka, maybe this is a little bit of controversial also. In Sri Lanka, if you take a Colombo, I will take a Colombo example. The pile depth, the bedrock, I would say, maybe correct me if I am not wrong, based on my the soil investigation, it might go from the so approximately 30 meters to, it might come to the 5 meters. So when you start doing these Navala, these Vellavatta, those area, so that means, so when it's come to the Talavattagoda, those area, 5 to 10 meter. The biggest issue here, these I'm just talking, these Vellavatta, these Navala, those area is a little bit of sandy soil. But when it is come to the Talavattagoda, those Kalalgoda, those area, what I'm saying, IDH, those area, the soil is marshy. The recommendations, if you go for the soil recommendations, usually even for the 2-story come in with the pile foundation. Right? Pile foundation. Sometimes we know, this is, I think, if there is a structural engineer, they will agree with me. In break even coming for the other areas, pile to raft is in between floor 8 to 9. Probably 6 to 10, let's say, you can go with the raft foundation with a good soil cut. Beyond that, definitely you have to go for the pile, based on my experience in the Colombo. But the problem is when you comes to probably these marshy areas, you may not be able to do that even for the 2-3 story isolated foundation. For that, actually, there are certain ways to do. This is called the pile raft, right? Pile raft design. Sri Lanka, I think very less people are doing it. So what we do is the raft is there and the pile is taken by the friction, right? Then you ask, have you done this kind of project? Yes, we have done, I think, more than 4 or 5 projects in the Colombo, which was initially only the, I would say, quickly explain. So that project is supposed to go bed socket in pile, which we were converted to the, now let's say this is a 20 meter, which we are converted to the friction plus the raft. This can be saved. I tell one example in the Norris Canal. So the one hospital. So initial pile cost is somewhere around 57 million. With this modification, we were able to get by the 23 million. So this kind of thing you can do, right? But anyway, this is not so. For example, we are a structural engineer. We are not supposed to this geotechnical expert thing. So when I met them, the recommendation, so I explained them, this is what I'm going to do. Can you allow me to do that? So only thing is, there is sometimes the 50 millimeter settlement, right, has to be justified. No, this is the quite challenge for that. The bearing, of course, you can take it off. The bearing you can always justify it with soil improvement or the grouting or whatever. Shoe is coming the secondary settlement. Secondary settlement is the calculation of the secondary settlement due to the consolidation is a challenge in the marsh area. So I can't directly answer his question, but what I would say is now Sri Lanka, mostly recommendations come either raft or either pile. Raft foundation or the pile in the marshland. So, but my experience is, so I have done a couple of projects. In between, there is a solution that is called the pile raft. You can check in the internet also. Very much popular in the country like Dubai for the low-rise building because their bedrock is Burj Khalifa. I mean, it's not touching the bedrock, for example. Like this, if you take a Thailand, probably the bedrock is unable to take the bedrock. It's going sometimes 200 meters above. So those countries are practicing this one through the friction. So I think as a structural engineer, we should be able to find out somewhere in middle. Even this is house. I know mostly even the 2-story, 3-story house in the marshland are coming with the recommendation of the pile. But if you very closely work with the soil expert, geotechnical expert, you may able to come to an amicable solutions where both requirements are satisfied and also the foundation cost might be reduced by what I am saying is the 57, we reduced to 28, completely 50%. So I have done couple of projects. I would say 3-4 projects I have done. Any other question? That's 2-story, 3-story. I answer how to get more knowledge on the local construction. I think we might have a different session to go for the features and analysis. What are the soil conditions for the 2-story or 3-story house without going for station? This is, I think, I don't want to comment on this one. I think the soil you can't see the pit. I think sometimes we look at the physical pit and we used to justify it. We don't know, but the actual scenario well below that. So better now the soil test is, I think, somewhere around 100,000. If you build up the house more than 20 to 30 million, so why you are much worried about this 1%, even less than the 1%? And this is the most important. Everyone say the foundation is the most important thing in the building. So invest on that. Finally, what is the cost-effective method to have a finishing row or the rooftop? what is the maintenance cost of having rooftop? I think the issue is the waterproof. We don't have, I think when we talk about the 20, 30 years back, 20, 30 years back, we don't have much rooftop. Now with these limited spaces and all, we have to go for the rooftop. In that case, we need to have proper waterproofings. So I also doubt that Sri Lankan, I would say rooftop, what is the best method of doing it? So those are, we have to do the research and come to and solutions, because I don't think even more than 10 years warranties are given in any company in Sri Lanka. But my experience when I was I have seen the Europes when I was there. So they are giving sometimes 25 to 30 years warranty. I think the Middle East countries given more than that. So the thing is, probably the cost is much higher if they wanted to develop such material here, or else I'm not sure what's the reason behind that. So probably they wanted to safeguard on their life. So the waterproofing, I think the warranty you get maximum right now, the 10 years. I can't say whether it's the operation cost or whatever. If you have a right waterproofing, then it's a zero maintain cost. Right, I think I answers all the questions, and I will hand over to the narrator. Thank you.
ඉතාම කාලින මාතෘකාවක් ගැන අද කතා කරුණා. නිසි සැලසුම් කිරීම, ඉදිකිරීම් කළමනාකරණය, ඉංජිනේරුවන්ගේ ප්‍රමාණ සමීක්ෂණයන් වගේ වෘත්තිමය සහාය ලබා ගැනීම හරහා අපි හිතනවට වඩා ලොකු ඉතුරුවක් කරන්න පුළුවන් බව පැහැදිලි වුණා. And apart from that, Dr. Pradeep highlighted a very interesting fact about use of load-bearing walls instead of reinforced concrete. So we are expecting to have more discussion on that in our coming sessions. So Dr. Pradeep, thank you very much for your sharing your knowledge and experience with us, and for spending your valuable time with us. And I take this opportunity to thank President of Civil Engineering Sectional Committee, Professor Jayasinghe, and all the committee members for encouraging us to conduct these sessions. And also, I would like to thank the technical staff of ISL for the massive support given. ඒ වගේම අපි මෙවැනිම කාලින මාතෘකාවක් ගැන අපේ ඊළඟ සෙෂන් එකෙනුත් පබ්ලික් ඉවෙන්ට්ස් යටතේ සාකච්ඡා කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. අපි ඒ ගැන ඉදිරියේදී දැනුම් දෙන්න. So thank you very much all the participants.
Thank you. So just before the wind up, so if any structural engineer or any engineer wanted to know how we did the final equipment analysis and the construction sequence and also these physical sites, I think the below numbers and the emails are there. So when I am in the office, please come. So we will show off what we did, and I'm really happy to share with you free of charge. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pradeep. So thank you very much everyone for the participation. Good night to you.
Thank you very much, all of you.
Thank you. Good night.
Recording stopped.